G'day friends and fans, welcome to Dave Talk Stuff Ukraine War Update for the 20th of September 2025. The war continues, but before I begin, I'd like to thank the supporters who help make this channel possible. You can buy my books, buy my merch, join my Patreon, all my links are in the link tree. Thank you to everybody who supports the channel. The British, of course, continue with their Russophobia as the outgoing MI6 chief gets ready to be replaced by a Ukrainian. Out with the British, in with the foreigners, right, Keir Starmer? Of course, the entire Western media has their nose firmly up Zelensky's rear end, bleating now over and over again the same sick stories, the same lies. And of course, they don't listen to the actual people on the ground who actually know what they're doing and are trying to actually bring an end to this war, unlike the British, who seem hell-bent on defending Ukraine's borders but not their own. And of course, destroying their own economy in the process. Did you know all those offshore windmills cost money to run? They don't make a profit. They don't generate enough electricity. And of course, they're killing fish. The British government's using the war to distract you from their incompetency, to give you something to rally around, to make themselves look like they're heroes. When in the actual reality is, Keir Starmer's making sure his mates get to stick their finger in the honey jar and take all the honey from the honey pot before they all jet off to their next victim. We have a clear statement. Over and over again, Zelensky says he won't meet with Putin. Yet time and time again, the Western media say Putin isn't ready for peace, that Putin won't end the war. Now, Zelensky's met with Vance, he's met with others, but he just refuses outright to end the war. Zelensky is the obstacle to peace. Full stop. Here are the key events today. Polish missile came down in eastern Poland. There seems to be no end to the cock-ups around this war, where outsiders are constantly trying to provoke a conflict with Russia. Estonian officials lied. 3 MiGs did fly around Estonia to get to the Russian enclave. This is Kaliningrad. They voted to remain part of Russia despite being surrounded by hostile nations. That's their right. Yet everybody around them acts as if these people have no rights because they don't align with them. That is not democracy. That is not being a good neighbour. Again, they bleat about Russian drones and 20 Russian drones. They haven't even produced one yet. They've produced a photograph of what they claim to be drone wreckage, which turned out to be from a police case investigating a Ukrainian operating drones in Poland. They were in the middle of investigating a spy case when this so-called Russian drone story broke, and the whole thing disappeared, and now they're just talking about Russia. Again, always with the accusations, reckless behavior, again and again and again. Scrambled to intercept Russian jets. Never mind the cat and mouse games that American jets and American submarines and British submarines routinely violate Russian airspace. Flyovers, defense readiness tests. But always with the West, with the provoke a response, film the response, blame the responder. As a reactionary, comrades. They provoked it. This is not the behavior of reasonable democracies. This is the behavior of dying regimes trying to cling to power by creating a war, just like they did in World War I and II. Fighting, of course, has continued. Ukraine constantly bleats about civilians dying, but never mentions the fact that they attacked Moscow, not a military target. There were 40 missiles and around 580 drones, but they won't show a single explosion. They will not show the truth. Where these bombs fell and tell us were they the result of electronic warfare or not. Now, sometimes they say it's a drone when it's actually a bomb, which meant, because they don't want to say it was a bomb, because that meant a Russian plane flew over Ukraine unmolested. It's not true. The Russians do lose about a plane a week, but Ukraine loses far more, but they never show you their losses. They never give you the state of the war. It's very hard to find the state of the war. You have to piece it together from several sources. But the clear state of the war is Ukraine, with 1.3 million troops in its army, is unable to stop 700,000 Russians out of 2.4 million. Russia's Mike Tyson with one hand behind his back, beating the living daylights out of RuPaul or some other little, and Zelensky's thinking, any day now we're going to have a massive offensive to Moscow. Any day now the British and the Americans will be at our backs, because that is the only way you're going to. And of course we know what's going to happen. We know that Europe doesn't care. Ursula von der Leyen with her sanctions. This ain't the 1800s, love. There are many other industrial powers now. Every time you sanction, another industrial power steps in to fill the void. This is Europe cutting itself off from the world. All these sanctions, all this trouble with Russia is just emboldening more people to join BRICS. Yeah, BRICS will eventually fall apart. China will betray them all. But a lot of people are saying the quiet part out loud. If we don't obey you, you sanction us. That's why I said the worst thing you could do to communism was to sanction it. Because people would see the collapse of communism and go, oh no, it didn't collapse on its own. It was undermined by the United States. Oh, we've got a new symbol on the map. All right, before we go around the map, let's check out this new symbol. U.S. Department of State recommends U.S. citizens do not travel to... What's this? Oman? I don't remember Oman. I don't remember hearing anything about Oman as a military target. But then again, the Americans know that far more areas of Ukraine are being hit than Ukraine will admit. So, make of that what you will. But if there's a large crowd in Amman, maybe. But why would any American travel to Ukraine when, what is it, foreigners, 1 in 3 foreigners end up dead? They won't tell you about that, will they? Now, of course, there's been multiple strikes on Kiev. Now, some of these are old stories, but again, well, no, we're up to that old trek again where they're not showing the new ones. And tomorrow they'll show the new ones. Oh, here we go. Yeah, ballistic missile. Violent explosion without any photographs. Let's see if we can actually find this story. You can see Israel, Palestine. You can see, you can actually watch Iran live, moment by moment. There we go. 2 days ago, 4th of July. They'll appear later. There we go. Live map. No. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, no. Women and children. Yeah. Again, it's either the search results are... Let's see. This is what they're doing with the search results. This is why it's so hard for me to get the news out there. You got to battle search results. You got to battle the lack of Ukrainian. Okay, we actually have a Ukrainian story. The lack of it's normally you don't. And yes, people are going to say, don't use Google. I'm sorry, but DuckDuckGo has not been responding for me on Ukraine either. Nobody is giving... I can't get consistent search results on a daily basis. And see, click the link. Nothing happens. Let's try copying the link and paste and go. Here we go. We actually got something. Does it offer... This is why I use Google, by the way, is because you use Google, you'll actually get translate. And they don't give you the right story. Ukrainian... That's your fucking Ukrainian media right there. This is all you need to know, that they're worse than CN fucking N. So here we go. Drone strikes in the north here. No context. We have fighting in Sumy. We pretty much know that the Ukrainians keep showing up for work at the Russian exclusion zone. And the Russians... happy to oblige by the looks of it, but yep, battling the Ukrainians here in the north. Some headways in north of Kupiansk, but looks like a little bit, but not much. But fighting continues in the center of Kupiansk. They've gone from sieging Kupiansk for years to finally getting a foothold. Well, actually, they've been into Kupiansk several times, but this time they have a foothold, appear to have a foothold. North of Lyman, the Russian offensive continues, though little progress has been made. Russia's made progress towards Seversk, taking more territory northeast of Seversk. North of Chavashar and Chavashar itself, there is very little progress to report, almost no fighting. Intense fighting south of Kroinskov, the Ukrainian offensive, of course, getting shattered. Every day, Ukrainians are pouring in to try and stop the Russians, to push them back. And as you can see, multiple incursions, all resulting in net losses for Ukraine. And we see no progress here on the northern front. Hey, but at least Zelensky can claim yet again that he saved Dobrinska, right? What a stupid thing to say. Gonna say. Then we have a little bit of nothing really. It's like this is going to go backwards and forwards for some time. The Ukrainians are well dug in, and it doesn't look like the Russians have sufficient forces in this particular region. They are, obviously, as I said, they are using these sieges to bog down the bulk of the Ukrainian army. Remember, the Ukrainians themselves, these are one of the few areas, have said they're proud that they're showing off that they've got 100,000 troops in Zavest and another 100,000 in Klamorsk and 97,000 down here. So, congratulations. You've done exactly what the Russians want. Give them a target-rich environment and to bog down the Ukrainian army while they advance in other areas, taking territory which they wouldn't have, which they were willing to sign away if you had just given up in Donetsk. Now you're going to lose both. This is going to be Zelensky's legacy. And I put it to you that he is going to live the rest of his life with one eye over his shoulder, not fearing the Russians, fearing the Ukrainians once they figure out that he has sold them up the river, that he has destroyed their country, and that he had no intention of making peace with Russia, that he's just another corrupt bureaucrat, another corrupt politician who him and his mates robbed Ukraine of their future, sold it out to the British, and then going to nick off and live in protection in Britain as advisors or whatever they EU Captain Sky Shield, whatever EU position they're going to give Zelensky. Russia's taken more territory, and well, as you can see, there's a lot of flags. I think this one was though they haven't updated the map properly to reflect this, but this is what happens. Of course, there's more battles down here. We zoom out for a little bit. As I said, if I'm reading the battlefield right, there's two ways to go. There's still a possibility that they'll cut this off through Imzum. But if this is only a minor road, then they'll cut it off here. Go through here and cut it off through here, because that'll also enable them to come around and cut it off through here. And this still aligns with the horrible strategy of coming up here to cut most of this off, which will leave only this road out, cutting this off, leaving only this road out. And there goes half or maybe a third of the Ukrainian army, because he invests in the tired strategy of fixed positions and fixed fortresses, but because he plays a little bit of Warhammer on the side and wanks off to the Warhammer moderators calling for violence against those who disagree with them. It's sick. It's a sickness in the world today. And this is a result of people unable to get their head out of politics and actually invest in the truth. Truth matters. Trump is not setting conditions, according to the US envoy. He's not saying, Russia, you have to do the following. He is trying to find leverage. But as you can see, Both sides. Okay? It's not enough to. But Zelensky says, no. You have to put more pressure on Russia. More pressure on Russia. He's sitting in there protected by Keir Starmer and all the other muppets. This Ukraine is tearing the world apart because there are so many people who are such infantile pinheads that they don't want to know the truth. Time and time again, Zelensky's told you what he wants. And in any of that, there is not one word of peace. He is only talking about victory. And then he says, Putin doesn't want peace, he only wants victory. That's you, Zelensky, Mr. Projector Head. He's a man who can't take criticism. And that's a problem. Deep breaths, deep breaths. We're going to get there, folks. You know the drill. If Trump gets his way, he's already called out Keir Starmer. I'm surprised he didn't kick Keir Starmer out at number 10, declare Britain airstrip 1, and plant the US flag out the front and says, bring it, bitches. I mean, Trump's bodyguards are probably larger than the British Army right now. All right, so UN's called for action. And why is this what's this got to do with the Ukraine war? Well, apparently a 5-year-old Russian child, a Russian child, according to the Ukrainians, is a threat to national security of Ukraine. And the UN has finally decided that after listing several 11-year-olds in their database by the Ukrainian extremist website, Peacemaker, who says 11-year-olds are a threat to Ukraine's security, are now going after a 5-year-old child. Apparently going after a 5-year-old child is too much, but going after several 11-year-olds. But Ukraine keeps defending this website as exposing individuals who deem a threat to Ukraine's national security. I mean, the only one who should be on that website is Zelensky and not the only one. Zelensky's friends are the threat to Ukraine's national security. Had they not continued the Donbass war, had they made peace with the people of Donbass, we wouldn't be in this situation. Zelensky is the root cause of all of this. Though the war dates back to Obama and the illegal coup, after several accords, several agreements and talks, it could have been all over. Zelensky said he'd bring about peace, and he didn't. This is on him. He is the threat to Ukraine's national security, and you watch. He'll further threaten Ukraine's national security because to rebuild Ukraine, he'll flood the country with foreigners. And I thought Ukraine's national security hinged on neutrality, not becoming a puppet of the UK. Again, Russia has said that its fighter jets did not cross NATO borders, that it went around. A routine flight, across the Kalia region, east of Finland, which they've done before, many times before. It's right up near an airbase. There's a Russian enclave bordering Poland and Lithuania. They flew over the neutral waters of the Baltic Sea. They came within 3 kilometres of Estonia's island. That's not Estonia violating their airspace. Again, Estonia claps its cheeks and goes, but Article 4, quick, declare war on Russia over a couple of aircraft that came close. By the way, do you know radar is not as accurate as they make it out to be in the movies? Even flight controllers recommend that aircraft on the map may be closer than you actually think. That's why they have specialist. That's why they have so much equipment, so many instruments, so many, guidance systems. Again, oh yeah, this is a story here. I opened up here. Yeah. Okay, Kremlin replies to Trump. Now, of course, President Trump has been accused of being emotional. Well, I don't blame him. And Kremlin spokesman actually says he feels a bit. He says completely understandable. This is Dmitry Peskov. He's repeatedly expressed his frustration with the state of the process. But he thought that Ukraine would be the easiest to resolve. Now, I am not putting this entirely on Putin. We got to put the blame where it lies. The Russians have responded, and they share his frustration. He wants a quick solution. In some areas, that may work, but in others, unlikely. Now, they haven't said exactly. But he is still willing to put more sanctions, but urged, yeah. Now, this is a news story as well, although 30-fold, I think that's a bit of a bold statement. But 30%, I don't know, would actually sound. But Russia's, according to many, what do you call them again? These data brokers, they get all sorts of data. They monitor Russian, China industry. They sell industry reports. Russian industry has picked up in the last couple of months. They definitely increased their production of artillery and howitzers and rockets and launcher systems. Now, the 220mm heavy system, BMP-3, these are all new, a new anti-aircraft autocannon. Why is that? Well, as I said, and I checked this many times, the best defense in World War II against the V1 was not the Spitfire, contrary to popular belief. The Spitfires did try to engage in air defense, but they found they couldn't match the arc, though the V1 never did anything to maneuver or anything like that, but it was so fast that they couldn't approach vector to fire on the V1 in the time it takes to react. By the time you line up and say, yeah, I'm tracking, I'm firing the jet, because it's constantly accelerating, right? And then uses glide momentum. The best air defense in World War II was the British air artillery. And obviously Russia has taken this to heart and added more autocannons to their BMPs. Now, the difference between a BMP, infantry fighting vehicles, and a BTR fighting vehicles is the BMP apparently is missiles and guns, where a BTR has a light cannon. But of course, this is also interchangeable, and often they share the same chassis, and they are often infantry training vehicles with crew compartments, although a BTR often does not, although it has optional crew compartments sometimes for evacuating. this is all because they keep changing the designs. They keep trying to find a design that. But the TOS-2, I think, it was introduced in the Ukrainian conflict. And apparently the vehicles that Putin was inspecting were actually battle tested, and he was showing that like these new designs do survive light arms fire, which has been often the complaint, not just of the Russians but of the Ukrainians as well, that a lot of infantry fighting vehicles are not as protective as their makers claim out to be. Putin, of course, has taken action. Now, the peace process has continued. Lavrov and Rubio are to meet. I thought by the time the story, 20 hours ago, I thought by now they would have met, but apparently, no. This is actually in a few hours' time. Now, they are to discuss a wide range of talks and issues, but the agenda is not published. And most likely won't be published. But Putin is talking about cooperation in the Arctic and Alaska. What they're talking about is that Trans-Siberian shipping, emergency air rescue, and all sorts of things. Russia's opening up its north using icebreakers. They have some of the largest and many icebreakers in the world. They're even offering to open up some areas for Alaska, of course at a cost, but cooperation is a good thing. Talking is a good thing. But of course the left wants to shut down anything that is not obedience. And that is why they're putting pressure on Trump, is to get him to make Putin obey Starmer, Macron and Merkel 2.0, who are all left-wing lunatics. Why America needs to take a stronger stance against the Euro commies. Now, Russia has taken another... this 23 hours ago, this is a repeat story, but they've updated it, right? The story... But according to Battle Group Sensor, they've eliminated 3,330 Ukrainians in the last week. Other battle groups report each nearly 1.8, 1.6, 1.5, 1.2, respectively, hitting various Ukrainian facilities. That's thousands dead. That is, that is a tragic loss of life, and we've seen this story before play out. Korea, fighting over the Korean Peninsula, ending up in the same place. Fighting in Vietnam, ending up almost at the same place they started at, and then deciding to walk away. Because everybody was lying to everybody. It's not just that LBJ admitted that he lied to Nixon. LBJ and I forget the name of the admiral who at the time were lying to the American public. They were hiding their losses but there was complaints by the South Korean army that they were provided M14s, not M16s. They routinely got the wrong ammunition. There were all sorts of problems. French socialists were undermining these. Why would you ever give supply contracts to France? Why wouldn't you do it, say, in the Philippines or something? I never know. But, yeah, the French socialists undermined. I mean, everybody. Just did not take a stand against the left and tried to fight a... This is, again, they're trying to fight a war in Ukraine when the majority of Ukrainians don't want this war. They don't want to fight Zelensky's war. They don't... It doesn't affect them, you know? It's the Donetsk. It's like... It's its own separate country. Its own separate republic. You know? They see it as Ukrainians trying to rewrite history, destroy... They're persecuting people for speaking Russian. They closed all the industries in the Donbass region. There's no reason for Ukraine to, except for the fact there's no viable reason to attack for Ukraine to want the Donbass. Or the only reason why they want Crimea, and that is is to get a bigger share of the Black Sea oil. So don't tell me Zelensky's fighting for democracy. Thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe, and please support the channel. You can support me. Right now, the biggest support I need is people to share and show this video to a friend. Bring people over. If you want to conversate, you want to prove me wrong? Prove me wrong. But, you know, calling me a Putin puppet is just absolutely ridiculous. Okay? At this point, you are pissing in the wind. All right? You are absolutely unbelievably biased and opinionated. And I don't care about all the other detractors who just come with insults. The worst thing you could do in this world is perpetuate the lies. Lies perpetuate war. War is created by liars and profiteers. So please support the channel and support me on Patreon. I have two, one for my writing and one for my RPG. Based on my writing, you can buy my books, buy my merch. All my links are in the link tree, which you'll find in the description below in my profile, or scan the QR code on the screen. Once again, thank you for your time. See you in the next video, and bye for now.